The best advice I ever got came from a guy that ended his life laying on a railroad track. This gentleman was a patient at the psych ward that I worked at, and he had been struggling really hard with schizophrenia. He was like in his late 60s, maybe early 70s, lived through the hippie era, took a lot of substances, was a free thinker. But as life caught up with him, a lot of his relationships fell through, money went south. He spent a lot of time being homeless and then became suicidal, had multiple attempts. And when he had tried to end himself at one of the homeless shelters that he was at, he was brought to our ward, and I was put on a one-to-one with him where I had to stay within arm's length and just spend a considerable amount of time with him day after day. He only wanted me around, and so naturally we made conversation, ended up sharing some things about my life and what I had going on. I had my first child on the way, a daughter, and he had a daughter as well that he had long fallen out of touch with. Now, one day when they were doing recreational therapy and making beaded bracelets, he was really locked in and focused on one that he was making while giving me some fatherly advice. He was so intelligent, so pure, so at ease, and with a peaceful, loving tone. And I knew I could trust what he was saying because a lot of people's advice come from inner self-judgments or maybe even the ego. But this guy was set that he was not going to continue his life after he was discharged. And he was sure to let me know that, and even if I were to tell the staff and try to prevent it, he would just wait out his time necessary to be here and ultimately go forward with his plan. I got a chance to ask him what it was like walking with schizophrenia and how he was able to fight through the noise of the voices and still present so calmly and peacefully. Because sometimes the voices would get so hard for him that he would just go to his room and you could see he was very, very externally disturbed. But he told me, he said, Jay, I've learned to live with the voices. And he said, one thing I've learned? I'm like, what? He said, we all have voices. We just got to listen to the right ones. It was the context of how he said it and when and what he was going through at the time and what I was going through at the time that spoke very, very pertinent to my situation. Then he hands me the bracelet that he was making in recreational therapy and says, this is for your daughter when she's born. He thanked me for spending time with him during the one-to-one, and not even a week later, he was discharged, and we got word that a body was found at some train tracks not too far from our facility.